Hey guys, welcome back. So what I'm going to be talking about today is my postpartum flare situation. Shortly after I gave birth to Leo, I tried breastfeeding. I was not successful. I probably dropped like maybe $400 or $500 on all the teas, essential oils, herbs, supplements, random foods like papaya that's supposed to help. But turns out if your body isn't going to make milk, it just doesn't happen. And that was what happened with me. So Leo actually dropped a couple pounds beneath his birth weight while we were waiting for my milk to come in. And then finally the doctor was just like, it's not going to happen. He needs to get on formula now. So he got on formula. He started gaining weight like a champ. I was really excited about that. However, pregnancy hormone crash and then breastfeeding hormone crash right on top of that. So that was not a fun time for me emotionally. I wouldn't say it was postpartum depression yet because I definitely got there in the next like maybe 2 months. That was when my postpartum depression really kicked into gear. But I did experience certainly the baby blues there. So, of course, having a new baby and a lupus diagnosis all within 1 year of each other is a lot to handle emotionally and physically. Shortly after giving birth, all I felt was relief. I didn't have the constant stuffed feeling that I was feeling when I was carrying Leo inside me. I felt very free. My back didn't hurt as much as it used to. There were just a lot of things that felt a lot better after I gave birth. However, as I mentioned in my last video about my lupus pregnancy, Leo, on his way out, gave me a 4th-degree tear, which is where you tear all the way back to your butthole. So I was dealing with those stitches. I was dealing with that pain. It was hard for me to sit. I probably couldn't sit comfortably for a full month, and then I couldn't sit without any pain whatsoever for almost a full year. So that was definitely a big issue for me there. However, I was feeling pretty good. My joints were hurting a little bit less than they had been during the pregnancy. I don't really know why that was, but I felt like I was in a good place. Comparing that good place to now is almost laughable because looking back, I was still in so much pain. It's ridiculous. It wasn't as much pain as I was used to pre-diagnosis. So about 3 to 4 weeks after I gave birth, I started experiencing some lupus symptoms. It started being hard for me to both fall asleep and stay asleep. Waking up, I was constantly exhausted. At first, I just chalked it up to being a new mom and having a baby that would only sleep for 1 to 3 hours at a time anyway. However, I also started getting a rash. The rash started right here. My nose was just swollen. I thought it had been because I was crying. However, it did not go away. It spread all the way across my face, it spread down my neck, and it actually spread to my entire body. It felt hot and tingly, kind of like when your hand falls asleep and then you go to wake it up and you have that really uncomfortable pins and needles feeling. It was like that all over my entire body. I felt like I wanted to just take an ice bath just to soothe it. And then the fevers came back. What started at maybe 99 point something and really wasn't a big deal turned into 102 fevers every single day. And that was when the rash went from just right here to full body. I talked to my rheumatologist and she wanted to see me in office. However, she could not see me in office until Friday, and I believe this was earlier in the week. So she recommended I go to the ER. As someone who has seen the inside of an ER more times than anyone should in their lifetime, I was reluctant to do this. I was also devastated to leave my baby and go to the ER alone. But I put on my big girl pants and I kissed my baby goodbye and drove myself to the ER. Another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is how annoying it is to go to the ER when you have an invisible illness. Most people have their arm hanging on by a thread or some kind of, visible, like, wow, I feel like crap thing going on with them, and everybody can be like, yeah, you're definitely in the ER for that. I was just sitting there quietly with my face slightly flushed because I'm so pale, nobody could really tell that I had a big swollen rash all over me. So I sat there for probably an hour, hour and a half, because nothing was bleeding. I wasn't experiencing chest pain, so they got to me when they got to me. I got in there and they requested I give a urine sample. They took a few vials of my blood just to see what was going on. My blood work showed that I was definitely in the middle of a flare, but they also showed that I had a kidney infection. I had experienced no UTI symptoms, so that was a big shock to me. However, I didn't doubt it with as much healing was going on down there at the time. It was like, you know what, that may as well happen too. Okay, sounds good. So they gave me some antibiotics and sent me home. Within 2 days, I felt a lot better. I was able to go into my rheumatologist, and at that point, my full body rash was peeling and flaking and starting to heal. That level of itch I have never experienced in my life. It was so miserable. I feel like I went through like 3 tubes of hand cream, just plastered it all over my body just to deal with that. It was awful. But while I was at the rheumatologist, she requested to check my urine again. So she did, and she noticed that it had been misdiagnosed as infected. When they sent it out to culture, which is where they take all the germs and they try to really grow something from it, they try to grow the bacteria from it to see what exactly bacteria it is, nothing had grown, which means my kidney infection had been misdiagnosed. So the main thing that concerned her was my kidney numbers. She decided to do a full blood panel as far as checking everything with my kidney. The protein in my urine was way too high for her comfort, and it was also way too high for pregnancy because it had been high my entire pregnancy, but sometimes that can happen with pregnancy, and so they just kind of brushed it aside and said, we'll keep checking this once you give birth. Well, I had given birth close to a month before, and it was still going up. So at that point, she told me that I may or may not be looking at lupus nephritis. I don't like to make these videos too long, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. But I am going to definitely talk about my journey with postpartum depression, and then also my journey diagnosing my lupus nephritis, which it turns out I had, in a later videos. So in a later videos, I'm just gonna leave that in there. So thanks for hanging out, and I will talk to you guys next time. Please like, subscribe, and contact me if you want. See ya.